Now we will continue with C# built-in types. Let's see another three types: float, double, and decimal. The float, we see here the range of float, we see here the range of the double, and the range of decimal, very big numbers. The difference between them is that float is a decimal number, but it can hold 7 digits. After that, if it's more than 7 digits, it won't be accurate because it will be rounded to 7 digits. Double can hold 15 digits. After that, it will be rounded to 15. If we will write 16 or 20, it will be rounded to 15 digits. Decimal can hold 28 digits, and after that it will be rounded. And here is example. Float. By the way, this example shows that float, double, and decimal can hold, of course, also a whole numbers, not only a decimal numbers, but a whole numbers too. So this is variable called float number 1 of type float that we assign it to 123. This is a variable name double number 1 of type double, and we assign it to 34. And this is variable we call decimal number 1 of type decimal. We assign it a value of 345. And another example, this is a variable called float number 2 of type float, and we assign it of a value of 1234566.7, means 7 digits. Because Visual Studio treats the numbers, the default, it treats them by default, it treats them as they are a double. So this is the F at the end that tells Visual Studio that we want it to be float, because otherwise Visual Studio will think that this is a double, because this is the default for him. And another example, the name of the variable is float number 3, and now we assign it a very small number. Here's a big number, and here's a very small number, 1.234567, and this is also very good. But this example, if we look close, we'll see that this is 8 digits. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 means that it will be rounded to 7 digits, so it won't be accurate. And here is a variable called double number 2 of type double, and we assign it a value of 124 point something, 15 digits. And this will be okay. It will be accurate. If we would add something here more, 16 or 20 digits, so it will be rounded. And here is another example, decimal number 2. This is the name of a variable, of the variable of type decimal, and we assign it a value of 28 digits. If we would assign it a value longer than 28, it will be rounded. And the M at the end, because as we said before, that default decimal numbers, Visual Studio thinks that they are double. It treats them as a double. We want to let the Visual Studio know that we want this number to be a decimal, so this is the M at the end. And here is another type built in Visual Studio called string. String can hold nothing, null. It can hold a string, a text like ABC, or a very long story. Once upon a time, very long story in one variable. And here is an example, string. We use the string type to create a variable called str1. And now after this line, so now this variable holds nothing, stores nothing. It's null, called null, nothing inside. But now in this line we assign it a value. Now str1 contains a value that any text. This variable str2 of type string, we assign it a value not null but empty string. This is called empty string. String between always text is supposed to be between the quotes on both sides. So we assign it quotes, but in the middle there is nothing, so it's called empty string. It's not null, it's empty string. And here is another variable called firstName of type string, and we assign it a value Robert. Another value lastName of type string, another variable lastName of type string, we assign it a value Smith. Another one, address of type string, we assign it an address. And of course, when we will run the program, we'll see the first name, console right hand, first name, last name, and address. Robert, Smith, and the address. Here is another type called Char. Char means character. It intends to hold only one character. And here we use the type Char to create a variable called C1, and we assign it a value of A, upper A. And another one variable called C2 of type Char, we assign it a value of A, but this time a lower A. And a Char, a variable C3 of type Char, we assign it a value of 5, but not the number 5, but just a character 5. We cannot make calculation using this variable, because this is not a number, it's just a character. And of course, when we'll run the program, we will see the C1, C2, and C3, A, upper A, lower A, and 5. Let's run the program. Of course, before I want to remark all the code before. I don't want it. I don't want to see it. So let's run the program. Right click on our project. Run, start new instance. And here we see the Robert, Smith, and the address. Console right on first name, last name, and address. Upper A, lower A, and 5. C1, C2, and C3.